economic development.
Council, I'd like to just ask the audience 1 minute.
No, you can't do
I know
that.
nobody
We
likes
have,
to do
it's
that.
no, Mayor.
Okay, I
It's
appreciate that,
it's
I know. So
you
my-
need 4 votes, Mayor.
I appreciate that. Her motion is for 1 minute.
Second.
Yeah. So I'd like to make a substitute motion of 90 seconds. No second. All right, so we have a motion for 1 minute. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? I oppose, so motion carries. Each speaker gets no more than 1 minute. And I will be enforcing that per council's direction. All right.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council, Michael Roush from the City Attorney's Office here in Alameda.
Mr. Roush, will you speak into the microphone a little closer and louder?
Sure.
Thanks.
Last year, the council made a referral to staff to bring back to it an ordinance that would require a city tobacco retailer license for those businesses which have state license to sell tobacco, and also to ban flavored tobacco products within the city.
Including menthol, is that correct?
That would include menthol, that is correct. Accordingly, staff did work with a number of different organizations and groups and has come back with a proposed ordinance. The outline of that ordinance, I'll go into a little more detail, but not a great deal in light of the number of speakers we have tonight. But generally, what it would provide would, as of July 1st, 2019, every state licensed tobacco retailer must obtain a city tobacco retailer license. There would be a buffer zone for new proprietors of persons who wish to sell tobacco products. Pharmacies would be prohibited from selling tobacco products, and the selling of flavored tobacco products would be prohibited. Concerning the city retailer license, it would be required as of July 1st, 2019. As I mentioned before, there would be no such license issued to any pharmacy. That would include either a freestanding pharmacy or a store that had a pharmacy within it. That organization or that company would not be allowed to sell tobacco products of any kind. There would be no city license issued for any purchaser of an existing business who is currently selling tobacco if that business was within 300 feet of a K-12 school. But we would allow current businesses who are within that 300 feet, if that business were to sell within a 3-year window, then that purchaser would be able to continue to be grandfather in, as it were, and be able to continue to sell tobacco products. But if there was a sale after the 3-year window, either with respect to an existing retailer or to a purchaser within that 3-year window, then that subsequent person could not obtain a tobacco retailer license. And finally on this issue...
I'm sorry, if you
yes.
could hold up just a moment. Member Ashcraft?
Well, I want to ask a clarifying question. Do you
Please.
want me to wait till the end of his staff report or as it comes up?
I prefer during the staff report. I think it's easier to follow. Council, do you have any? All right, so if you have a question, go ahead.
I do. Mr. Roush, it's on the very provision that you're talking about. I don't understand the, if what we're trying to do is keep tobacco products away from these sensitive uses, what's the rationale of allowing a new buyer of a tobacco retailer to keep operating within 300 feet of a sensitive use if the business is bought within 3 years of the ordinance's passage? What's magic about those 3 years?
One of the, as part of the process in developing this ordinance, staff had 2 meetings with the tobacco retailer organizations and persons who actually operate these businesses. And initially, as originally drafted, the ordinance, the draft ordinance that we sent out to them would have not have permitted, essentially, if a business was already within a buffer zone, as it were, that business could continue to operate on a grandfathering clause or condition, as it were. But if it were sold, the tobacco sales would have to end. What we heard from the retailers was that that would work an extreme economic hardship on them because a lot of their life savings, retirements, et cetera, are wrapped up in the business. And if therefore just one sale or just the sale itself would devalue substantially their ability to sell the business because that purchaser would not be able to continue to sell tobacco. So as a potential compromise, as it were, we redrafted the ordinance to put a 3-year window in there, thinking that if a person wanted to sell the business, that person would have the opportunity within a 3-year window to sell it, and therefore the purchaser could continue to sell tobacco products at that location. That simply was a sort of a staff-driven rationale, and the council, of course, is free to do with it as it chooses.
So just to follow up on that, I understand, and I was another question I was going to ask you is, why is it that the state won't give us, won't tell us how many state licensed tobacco retailers operate here?
My understanding is that the state considers that information confidential information, much like the city considers gross receipts that it receives on the business license tax. We don't disclose that to the public, and apparently the state has the same rationale, although the logic of that somewhat defies my thinking, but apparently that's why we haven't been able to get it. Notwithstanding that, we have been able to gather information from a number of different sources that leads us to believe there are roughly 50 such businesses in the community.
Right, I saw that. So, and of those 50-some businesses, or approximately 50 that have a state licensed tobacco, that are state licensed tobacco retailers, what percentage of those are tobacco stores that only sell tobacco products? Or if you know.
I'm afraid I don't know that information. Ms. Henry may be able to provide that information. I don't have that data in front of me.
So when I met with a couple of retailers, and one of them is the 7-Eleven store across from the library here, and I asked what percentage of their sales were from tobacco products, and to me that would be a more significant statistic when we talk about worrying about the impact on someone's life savings. But anyway, I appreciate your explanation of why, if you sell within 3 years of the ordinance, then whoever you sell to can keep selling even within 300 feet of a sensitive use.
That is correct, but if that purchaser, let's say there's a sale within 2 years, and then if that purchaser decides to sell the business 3 years after that, or even actually, 13 months after that, that purchaser would not be able to continue to sell tobacco products if that business is within the buffer zone.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
But if the purchaser, if the transaction happens a year after the ordinance goes into effect, and then they could sell it again within the next 2 years?
Correct. There would be basically a 3-year window for any sale, but after that 3-year window, any sale of the business and the business were within the buffer zone, that purchaser would be precluded from selling tobacco products.
Understood.
And then, as mentioned before, and then finally on this issue, that there would not be, no business would be allowed to obtain a license who currently does not have a state license until the number of operators within the city is less than 32. The rationale being that the rule of thumb seems to be that one tobacco product sale retail place for every 2,500 residents, and when you do the math for the number of residents that we have in the community, 32 is the magic number. The ordinance addresses pricing and discount, and basically would require any retailer to post the full retail price, would not be allowed to use, customers would not be allowed to use discounts or coupons to obtain tobacco products. Little cigars could only be sold in packages of 5. Currently, there's apparently packages of 2 and 3 out there on the market, also 5 and above, and this ordinance would require that such little cigars be sold only in packages of 5. And then cigars also could only be sold in packages of 5 unless the individual cigar was over $5. The flavored tobacco products would be prohibited from being sold after July 1st, 2019, including menthol cigarettes. And again, the ordinance defines what is considered a flavored tobacco product. There's a lengthy definition in the ordinance. Presumption is that it imparts a charactering flavor such as menthol, fruit, candy, etc.
Mayor,
Member Ashcraft?
clarifying question. So, Mr. Roush, on page 8 of the staff report, there's a table of comparing different cities and how they handle flavored tobacco products. So it, I think, if I'm reading this correctly, only San Francisco has an outright ban on all flavored tobacco because Berkeley bans all flavored tobacco only in the buffer zone, although I guess, well, only in the buffer zone. So yeah, Berkeley does have sales in the buffer zone. El Cerrito exempts menthol, Hayward exempts menthol. Oakland bans all flavored tobacco except at tobacco stores. And San Leandro bans all flavored tobacco but exempts menthol. So do you know if those jurisdictions that allow menthol, why was that? Why the distinction?
I'm not sure the rationale. My assumption is that the retailers feel that that is a significant portion of the tobacco sales that they have. That is certainly the information that we gathered when we met with the stakeholder groups in our 2 meetings. So my assumption is that those retailers were able to convince the councils of those communities that they should be allowed to continue to sell the menthol brand cigarettes, but not the other flavored tobaccos.
So you think that menthol is the greater seller? Is that it?
That is the information that we hear from the retailers. That is correct.
Thank you.
As Councilmember mentioned, that the next slide shows that a number of different communities have buffer zones, and they do ban a certain amount of flavored tobacco products, but not all of them are exempt, as indicated a moment ago. If there were to be violations of the ordinance with respect to either the sale of flavored tobacco or other violations, we are recommending, again, that the first offense would be a $1,500 fine, a second offense, a 15-day license suspension or a fine based on tobacco sales, a third offense, 30-day license suspension or a fine based on tobacco sales, fourth offense, license revocation. The fine based on tobacco sales, what we heard, again, from the retailers and the police chief kind of confirmed this, is that that is the way that ABC often deals with illegal sales of alcohol products to minors. While they may not necessarily suspend the license, they will impose a penalty based on the amount of sales that the retailers had on alcohol sales over a certain finite period of time. So we would leave it in the discretion of the department to whether or not a suspension or that kind of fine would be imposed with respect to the second and third offense.
Mayor?
Member Ashcraft?
So on that point, who determines whether the license is suspended? Sorry. Who determines whether the license is suspended or whether the retailer pays a fine?
The department head would make that determination as to which one would be imposed.
Is the department head the city manager?
Currently, it's written as the community development director. I understand that there is some terminology or certain changes within the organization in terms of who that would be, but that is the way it's currently drafted.
I guess I was reading decisions concerning suspensions, fines, or revocations may be appealed to the city manager.
That is correct.
Okay, and then why would we be giving this sort of flexibility to retailers who are now on their second and third offenses? Wouldn't you, if you violated the rule once, why wouldn't, I mean, I understand what you said because that's what ABC says, but I kind of like the state not revealing to us how many licensed retailers are in the city. That doesn't make sense to me.
What we had heard from the retailers was that if the license is suspended, what will happen is if they're suspended, they can't sell tobacco products, and that has the effect of people won't come into the store at all, and it's sort of the collateral sales that go along with buying the tobacco products that makes the business profitable. And therefore, if the tobacco retailer license is suspended, they will lose business other than just the tobacco. So the thought was perhaps a fine would allow the business to continue in operation, but it would hurt them economically. So that's the rationale.
Yeah, I guess I was under the impression that the reason that we would be imposing some sort of a sanction is because they did violate the ordinance, and now they violated it twice or even 3 times. So wouldn't it be more of a disincentive if they knew that their license might be suspended? Something maybe for the council to consider when we discuss. Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor?
And by just to be clear to the audience and people watching at home, by collateral sales, you mean purchasing other items such as groceries, that sort of thing in the shop?
Correct. I think you will probably hear from the retailers that that people come into the stores, and while they may be buying tobacco products, they may also be buying lottery tickets or gasoline or alcohol or soft drinks or coffee or whatever, and it is sort of the totality of those sales, of which tobacco products are an important part, but it's the collateral sales that make the business go.
Understood.
This program, if it's going to be implemented properly, to be a robust program that the council's interested in, it will cost the city to have to administer it, and therefore there'll be fees necessary to run the program. The good news is that the city was able to obtain about a $300,000 grant from the state of California, so we are recommending that at least for the first year that no fees be imposed, and by this time next year or maybe in another 15 or 16 months, we will have a much better idea of what it'll cost to run the program, and we can establish an appropriate fee.
Member Mataresi?
With that grant, did the city hire people, additional bodies, or is it absorbed into the current staff's work level?
It is not anticipated at this time that the city will hire additional bodies to enforce this, but there will certainly be time spent by code enforcement and or the police department in enforcing it, and we will want to track that time to make sure that the cost of that is appropriately spread to the retailers.
Member Ashcraft?
And where does the revenue from the fine, so say a business is fined rather than having their license suspended, where does that revenue go?
It would go into the general fund. I mean, I suppose it could be more specifically, could go into the program. I don't think we have sort of got that detail at this point.
Something to consider. Thank you.
Member Mataresi?
And just to follow up on that, what you just explained, so if, and this is maybe for the city manager, if the police and staff are doing enforcement during this time, that means they're not going to be doing something else, correct?
That's correct, if we're going to be doing it with existing staff.
Thank you.
I think I may have, certainly with respect to the retailers, and they will speak for themselves, but the two issues that I think we heard in particular was that they're feeling that the ordinance was not necessary if the primary concern is that there are sales to minors going on, because there are already programs and procedures in place whereby the sales to minors is a very de minimis risk. And then secondly, as indicated earlier, that the ordinance would work in economic hardship if they're not able to sell the business as and be able to have the new person continue to sell tobacco products.
Member Odie?
I just have a quick question. Is there any part of this presentation that talks about the concerns of public health?
We will certainly be hearing from the public health advocates.
But nothing in your presentation talks about the concerns of public health and the concerns of hooking people on a substance that the Surgeon General has determined causes cancer, right? I mean, because there's been a lot of quote-unquote concerns about retailers interspersed throughout this, but no discussion about the public health impacts.
That issue is discussed in great detail in the agenda report and in the findings in the ordinance.
I get that. But
The short answer is no. I think we were trying to lay out the salient parts of the ordinance and give you a flavor, as it were, in terms of where the opposition to it might be. We did do a community survey. It wasn't intended to be
okay.
a
Did the retailers raise any concerns about putting a product into the market that basically kills people?
We certainly that was reflected in the response we got from the community on the survey that was done, supporting the banning of the sale of flavored tobaccos and creating a buffer zone.
Okay. And is there any difference between menthol cigarettes and non-menthol cigarettes as far as their impact on someone's health, causing cancer or so on?
My understanding
as
is
you know,
that menthol cigarettes are, in fact, more dangerous than non-menthol cigarettes, and that they are often advertised or generated, or the ads are generated toward the youth and minority communities. Seems to be where the advertising for those products go.
Okay, so then I did not know that, so I appreciate that extra bit of information. So some people are asking for an exemption so they can continue to sell a more dangerous product that targets youth and minorities. Okay.
The agenda report lays out some options for the council to consider if it doesn't want to adopt exactly what has been drafted. For example, it may want to exempt pharmacies, either current for a while or exempt them entirely. The sales of business, as we indicated, we have a 3-year window. The council could certainly either extend that or eliminate that entirely. The buffer zone right now is 300 feet from basically the K-12 schools. The council could certainly increase or decrease that, or they could certainly expand the types of areas other than schools that the buffer zone ought to apply to. The council could consider whether to exempt menthol or other flavored tobacco products, even for a period of time or entirely. And then also the penalty options, as we've indicated, the council could say, we are not interested in the fine, we ought to just do the suspension.
Vice Mayor?
In the staff report, one of the exemptions that was raised by some of the retailers was that rather than exempting menthol cigarettes, that they could put those items behind the counter. So is that to say that tobacco products in general currently, I mean, could we consider a regulation that would require that all products are placed behind the counter?
That is certainly an option that could be provided, that a flavored tobacco or certain flavored tobacco products.
I'm not necessarily talking about flavored tobacco. I'm talking about all tobacco products. So I'm hearing from a member. So I guess my issue with some of the exemptions that were raised at the meeting, and what I'm really getting at, I won't beat behind the bush anymore, is some of the exemptions that were being raised at these community meetings, frankly, are things that are already required here. So saying we're going to put it behind the counter, it's supposed to be behind the counter. And I guess my concern, to Councilmember Odie's point, is the presentation is very much geared towards the retail aspect of it. So I guess I'm wondering, when you went through the list of figuring this out and figuring out what the possible exemptions could be and shouldn't be, did you look at what the current practices are? I'm assuming you did.
The answer is yes, and again, I think the way the ordinance is written addresses that concern, because it's a very it's a very robust ordinance in terms of prohibiting these sales. So we think that that public health aspect has been addressed, and certainly the concerns of smoking generally has been addressed in the agenda report. So I think the answer is yes, we did consider that. We just wanted to make sure that the council had a broad range of options if it wanted to do something perhaps either more or less rigorous than what's in the ordinance. So where the staff is that we're recommending that you introduce the ordinance on first reading and bring it back for a second reading at your next meeting. I'm open to any answering any questions the council has on this matter.
Council, any other questions or comments at this time before I call the speakers? All right, I'm going to go ahead and call the speakers. All right, and speakers, I think we're at 50 at this time. And if you want to speak on this item, please submit your speaker slip. I'm going to ask that when I call your name, if you line up on, I guess, on this side of the room, so that when you're ready to go, so we can get through. And it's 1 minute each. So then she will start the clock after you actually get at the microphone, okay? Irene Nika, Marilyn Pepper, Jaime Rojas, John Sherritt, Philip Gardner, Alexis Cucci, Malia Zachariah, Seamus McGinnis. All of you could line up. Thank you. All right, and we're going to start with our public speakers. And if each of you could try to speak into the mic loudly, so we'll just be able to go right through. Thank you very much for your cooperation.
Hi, I'm Irene Nika from the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network. I'll be very brief since I have a minute. Tobacco remains a leading cause of preventable death in our country. Sadly, 95% of adult smokers begin before the age of 21. It's not coincidental that little cigars, which are flavored and are available in small packs for as little as $5 for $1, fit the budget of a youth, nor is it coincidental that tobacco comes in flavors similar to candy products like bubblegum, popcorn, cotton candy, and so forth. So prohibiting the sale of flavored tobacco products, establishing minimum pack size, and restricting locations are important components of a comprehensive strategy to help reduce tobacco and initiating addiction. We should do everything we can to protect young people from establishing a deadly addiction to tobacco and the cancer it causes.
Thank you. And please hold your applause so we can continue with the next speaker. That was Irene Maryland.
Thank you very much. I'm here again.
Could you raise the microphone and speak into your tall? Yes.
Tall, thanks. Questions about retailers, and hoping that perhaps the council will consider, rather than a property line buffer zone, that they do it to the front door of the business. And what that will do is that it changes if it's a strip mall type situation. You've heard about the ancillary items and all the conditions that will be placed on the retailers and what they stand to lose financially. But there's also broken leases involved that for the businesses that close that I have not heard addressed. People also wonder about, there are many different opinions about nicotine products and whether in fact they've helped people quit. I can tell you myself, they have. And if it's the flavor products that also I used, if they're gone and part of this total flavor ban, that will eliminate that opportunity to adults who have been able to quit smoking by using those products. Thank you.
Jaime Rojas.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Jaime Rojas, and I represent the National Association of Tobacco Outlets. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. We represent many of the tobacco retailers here in the city of Alameda. We are opposed to the proposed flavor ban as currently written. First, our members are law-abiding, responsible business owners who do not nor want to sell to youth. Our store owners fully comply with the age 21 sales regulations here in California. We, too, do not want nor support youth smoking in our communities and only sell these products to adults who choose to do so legally. It is already illegal to sell and market to youth. We fully support the city's tobacco retail license program, but not as the ordinance is proposed. California's Health Department study earlier this year announced that the 2017 statewide policies of the age 21 and the increase of the $2 additional tobacco tax has significantly reduced youth's access to tobacco products. Why is the city considering banning policies that have not proven to work and only shifts the purchase of these products to neighboring cities and not prevent youth from smoking? In the next couple of weeks,
Thank you.
thank you.
Don Sherritt. And then Philip Gardner.
Thank you. You won't believe this one, but I'm for this ordinance. Every bit of it, and it looks good. Two concerns. I hope the retailers that are going to be affected directly with this are well aware of what's going on. That's my first concern. And the second, you can ban all those flavored tobacco pieces anytime, in my estimation. So thank you for pursuing this. Good luck in it. It's not going to be easy. Thank you.
Thank you. Philip Gardner. And then Alexis Cucci.
I'm Dr. Philip Gardner from the Tobacco-Related Disease Research Program, University of California Office of the President. We sent you a letter on behalf of the African American Tobacco Control Leadership Council. You have a rare opportunity to actually do something about the public's health. Most kids start with flavored products. Most kids of color start with menthol products. It was a terrible presentation that didn't even mention this. For Council Member Ashcroft's thing, San Francisco has outlawed this. Beverly Hills has outlawed this. Richmond has outlawed this. San Pablo on Monday night took the first reading to do this citywide. Tuesday, Marin County did this. This is a growing movement. We would like to see you be part of it. We know that putting candy flavors in poison allows things to go down easier. It masks the harsh taste. It leads to deeper inhalation. It leads to greater addiction. And I think it's an injustice that there's only 1 minute to respond to the report. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Alexis Cucci and then Malia Zachariah.
Hello, my name is Alexis and I'm from Alameda Girl Scout Troop 31901. We started working with this campaign as a take action project for our Breathe Journey. The Breathe Journey is a Girl Scout program about being aware of everything going on around us with a focus on the air we breathe. Personally, it makes it harder to breathe when there's an invisible cloud of candy-scented tobacco around most corners. I know several people who smoke and vape, and whenever I'm around them, I can smell it on them. The same people have told me on multiple occasions never to start smoking or vaping, because if I do, I'll probably get hooked and not be able to stop. People are more conscious about secondhand smoke from a cigarette than from an e-cigarette because of the smell. However, don't let the sweet aroma deceive you. The smell may not be as bad as a cigarette, but it doesn't mean it's not harmful. I would rather smell fresh air from a tree than from someone's bad habits. Please consider banning the sale of these products from our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Malia Zachariah. And if you all could please hold your applause. Thanks so much. Malia?
Hello, my name is Malia, and I'm in 7th grade. I may not know any friends that vape or have tried it, but I believe the design and creation of tobacco products with candy flavors is directed at me, and I'm not legally supposed to buy or use those products. Kids like me are curious, though, and may want to find out if the flavors really taste as good as they sound, especially since their packages look like the candy we have already tasted. I would tell my friends not to vape, even if they are tempted, but banning these flavored tobacco products will help me and my friends grow up tobacco-free. Thank you.
Thank you. Seamus McGinnis? Okay, I'm gonna interrupt the meeting. You must hold your applause. That is a rule, because we need to get through the meeting. And unfortunately, if you continue to clap, even though I've asked you not to, then we'll have to figure out what we have to do to then get you to honor the rules of the chamber. So please hold your applause so that we can get through the meeting. Thank you. Seamus McGinnis.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Seamus McGinnis. I was one of many students from Encinal High School, Lincoln Middle School, and Bay Farm School who spoke to 735 Alameda students, parents, teachers, and concerned residents about candy-flavored tobacco products. My experience talking to students has shown me how these tobacco and nicotine products are running rampant through our schools and youth. I have seen firsthand how these products have hooked my peers, and sadly, this has led many of them to smoking cigarettes and other drugs. This plague is targeting children and creating a new generation of smokers, and these tobacco companies do not care about our youth's health. Together, we have collected 735 signed cards voicing our concerns about candy-flavored tobacco, including menthol cigarettes and cheap small packs of cigars. We ask you to enact strong policy tonight to protect Alameda youth from becoming addicted to nicotine. Here are the 735 signed statements. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, now we're going to have another set of 10 speakers. I'm going to ask you to line up so we can get through this again. Daniela Quintero, Erebus O'Brien, Denise Zachariah, Marina Rodriguez, Zachary and Nora Gratz Lazaris, Michael Chen, Max Palmer, Amanda McGowan, Turner Bratz. All right. Thank you very much. Daniela. Is Daniela Quintero here? All right. We're going to move on to the next speaker, Erebus O'Brien.
Mayor and City Council members, my name is Erebus O'Brien and I am a student in 7th grade attending Lincoln Middle School. The flavors that are marketed on tobacco allow minors to be easily hooked to nicotine, such as M&H and Candy King Batch, while being a cheap and accessible habit to begin. Flavored tobacco products are sold in 100% of all Alameda stores that carry tobacco, and over half sell e-cigarettes. This is a subject I feel very strongly about, and I believe that the ordinance will lower the rates of youth smoking while making Alameda a healthier place for all its residents. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Denise?
Hello, City Council members. As a parent of 2 middle schoolers and resident of Alameda, I'm here tonight to express my support of the proposed tobacco retailer licensing ordinance. Over this past summer, I began to notice ads on buses and on the radio warning about candy-flavored tobacco products. Obviously, as you can see from this flyer, the way that they're marketed, the colors, the flavors, strawberry shortcake, marshmallow man, and unicorn poop, the tobacco companies are targeting our kids to create a new generation of addicted customers. I was shocked to learn that almost 1/4 of Alameda 11th graders report using e-cigarettes or other vaping devices. I'm also concerned that companies are making it easy for kids to hide these devices with a design shaped like a USB drive that they would use in school. I've spent the last few weekends walking Alameda neighborhoods with my daughter Malia to distribute these door hangers. Residents seemed similarly alarmed when they saw the photos of how enticing the products look. I believe you will do the right thing in protecting our kids from accessing flavored tobacco products for a healthy future. Thank you.
Thank you. Marina Rodriguez?
Mayor and City Council members, my name is Marina Rodriguez and I'm a 12th grader attending Encinal High. I am here tonight to encourage City Council members to end the sale of tobacco products in Alameda. I support this ordinance because I believe the way tobacco is being marketed to minors is extremely unethical and also is very overlooked. I am a high schooler and I am most exposed to this problem and also the most aware of it. Every time I go to a party, about 90% of the people attending either own a Juul or Soren, the most sold nicotine products, or are using their friends. When I go to a bathroom at school, every day I almost see somebody smoking in the bathrooms. And on a good day, must I add, on social media I'll see 5 posts about people smoking or just endorsing their products. I no longer want to see my friends getting addictions at the age of as low as 14, and I think a change must be made, and it starts here.
Thank you. Zachariah and Noah?
Tobacco is bad for children and other living things.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Zach, and this is Nora, and we're Alameda residents. I'm a licensed clinical social worker in the city. And we're here just to say exactly what Nora said. I'd also like to, in addition to commenting about the flavors, I think that the price and pack size are very important. Youth are very price sensitive, and the cheaper they are, and it's now possible to buy a single cigarette for 49 cents in the city of Alameda, the cheaper they are, the more accessible they are. We want to keep our children healthy, right, Nora? Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Chen, and then Max Palmer.
Hello, Mayor Spencer and City Council members. My name is Michael Chen, and I'm currently a senior at Encinal High School. I'm here tonight to encourage City Council members to end the sale of candy-flavored tobacco in Alameda. Flavored tobacco hooks kids. The sweet flavors, colorful packaging, and cheap prices of candy-flavored tobacco products appeal to the youth. There are flavors out there like gummy bear, strawberry, and cotton candy, which mask tobacco's harsh taste. This makes it much more appealing to the youth. Tobacco companies know this and continue to come out with new flavors. Additionally, they are sold in small packs for cheap prices, which makes smoking more affordable for the youth. 4 out of 5 kids who have used tobacco started with a flavored product. The tobacco industry's use of flavors is very strategic, as it targets the age group most susceptible to addiction. The brain's peak period for developing addiction starts in adolescence. It is important to end the sale of candy-flavored tobacco because it is a crucial step to prevent youth from a lifelong addiction to tobacco. Thank you.
Thank you. Max Palmer and then Amanda McGowan.
Mayor and City Council members, my name is Max Palmer, and I'm a 12th grade student at Encinal High School. I'm here tonight to encourage the City Council to end the sale of candy-flavored tobacco products in Alameda. I support this ordinance because of the way tobacco is being marketed and is clearly affecting the lives of many Alameda youth, including some of my friends and classmates. Tobacco has become mainstream in youth culture, and that's just not okay. Kids shouldn't be getting hooked on tobacco before it even becomes legal for them to purchase it. I've seen friends and family members have lifetime struggles with addiction, including escalation to more harsh forms of tobacco, such as cigarettes. It is clear that this must come to an end, which is why I strongly urge the City Council to adopt this ordinance. Let's not wait for Alameda to be one of the last ones to do so, but be one of the front runners of this movement. Thank you.
Thank you. Amanda McGowan and then Turner.
My name is Amanda McGowan. I'm an 8th grade student at Lincoln Middle School. I'd like to encourage the City Council members to end the sale of candy-flavored tobacco in Alameda. Candy-flavored tobacco is disguised to encourage kids to buy it. The packaging and names are very similar to candy that appeal to the adolescents in our city. Tobacco is very unhealthy and can lead to a lifetime of addiction and many horrible diseases. Please help to end the sale of candy-flavored tobacco to make Alameda a safer and happier place to live.
Thank you. Turner.
Hello, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Turner Bratzi, and I'm a 6th grader at Lincoln Middle School. I'm here tonight because I think candy-flavored tobacco products and jewels should not be sold in Alameda. I walk several Alameda neighborhoods, talking to neighbors and handing out door hangers to help everyone understand what tobacco companies are selling and the harm it can cause kids by getting them hooked on smoking. Most people think the pictures on the door hangers are real candy, and even my friends at school who saw the flyers thought it was candy. I think the ordinance will help keep all kids in Alameda healthier and will help prevent any of my friends or other kids from trying tobacco. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next names are Nick Lindell Wright, Kimberly McGowan, Sven S., Jackson Aid, Anita Jordan, Matt Bronze, Aniesa Lustig Ellison, Darla Call, Kevin Gorham. Okay, that'll complete that set. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Nick Lindo Wright, and I'm a senior at Encinal High. As a student at Encinal High, I've seen the rise of nicotine at our school. It has quickly swollen up to the point where many teenagers at my school have become dependent on nicotine, breeding a bad addiction at an early age. And I'm mainly concerned for kids our age who can become involved in nicotine products, but even more towards younger children that tobacco companies are marketing towards with inviting flavors and flamboyant packaging. Action needs to be taken so that young kids aren't hooked at a young age before they can make the right decisions and become the next generation of smokers, which is eventually what big tobacco companies are banking on. Thank you.
Thank you. Kimberly McGowan.
Good evening. My name's Kimberly McGowan. I'm a longtime resident of Alameda with 3 children in the ASUD school system. I'm a newcomer to the cause for anti-tobacco, the anti-tobacco cause. And in doing some research, I spent an hour on the Lincoln Middle School campus with the kids, talking to them about this problem. Before I told them why I was there, I showed them some pictures that you've seen on the flyers, really colorful pictures, and asked them, what do you think this is? Is it, just plain out, what do you think it is? And they all said, candy, a juice box, snacks. So I asked them, well, snacks for who? Like me, you, who is it for? And they said, oh, it's kid food. It's obviously kid food. So we told them, no, it's not. It has nicotine, it has tobacco, it's being marketed to children. They were shocked, and so was I. I had heard that there was things, tobacco with, thank you.
Thank you. Sven, and then Jackson.
Hello, Mayor and City Council. I'm Sunshine Gas. I'm a student at NCNL. I'm a senior, and I'm here today to advocate the banning of flavored tobacco products because I've seen too many friends fall to its influence because it's simply just too easy to get, and it really it's a gateway drug in a way because I've seen a lot of friends who started out vaping and then moved on to cigarettes, and it only gets worse and worse from there, and that's why, I think this is comparable to the opioid epidemic that's impacting a lot of adults, and I think we need to take action now to stop it while we still can. And we were so close to making sure that nobody smoked. We were almost there, but this is slowly starting to turn young men and women back into smokers. Thank you.
Thank you. Jackson?
Hello, my name is Jackson Aid, and I am a senior at NCNL High School. I am here tonight to encourage you all to end the sale of candy-flavored tobacco products in Alameda. These flavors are obviously created to be sold to children. The sweet flavors, enticing packaging, and dirt-cheap prices of candy-flavored tobacco products clearly appeal to our youth. These flavors, including gummy bear and cotton candy, mask the tobacco's harsh taste and encourage young smokers to start. The distributor's goal in this action is to attract a new demographic, a younger demographic, and hook kids early on for a lifetime of addiction. Thank you.
Thank you. Anina? And then Matt?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Anina Jordan. I am a senior at NCNL High School, and I'm here tonight to encourage City Council members to end the sale of candy-flavored tobacco in Alameda. I have personally seen how easy and quickly people can become addicted to tobacco and nicotine products, and it's scary and very concerning. The advertising is specifically directed towards the youth with its sweet flavors and colorful packaging. Tobacco companies don't care about our health, they care about making a profit, and I think it's the responsibility of the city to help protect our health, and so I think banning the candy-flavored tobacco sales in Alameda is a crucial step towards protecting our health.
Thank you. Matt?
Good evening, Mayor Spencer, members of City Council. Thanks to all the volunteer students, parents, and efforts of the staff of the Alameda County Tobacco Coalition for their work and collaboration to educate the public through this initiative, and to the council for taking the time to listen and learn to the voices of our young leaders who are here tonight. I'm a parent of 2 ASUD students, a longtime community advocate, and active in our youth organizations. As a new parent to Alameda High and a volunteer with athletics, it's been shocking to hear students talking about how cool it is to vape, how easy it is to access, and the ease at which they can use and conceal the products because of the packaging, and the impact it is having on our youth who are targets of corporate tobacco. And that's just at the high school. The influence then carries to their younger siblings, who look up to them, and with a combination of clever marketing tactics, including candy packaging, flavor and smells that are naturally curious, and tricks them into trying it, and then they're hooked. As a concerned parent, youth supporter, and community advocate, I encourage you to give serious consideration to what's taking place across our community, and as leaders of our city to take action to protect the health and well-being of our Alameda youth and ban candy-flavored tobacco. Thank you.
Anissa? Anicia, thank you.
Hello, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Anicia Lustig-Ellison, and I'm a senior at NCNL High School. I'm here to encourage the city to end the sale of candy-flavored tobacco products in Alameda. These products have a major influence on the young people of Alameda. I have friends and classmates that use these products regularly and can't seem to stop. This is a pattern throughout Alameda, with 1 out of 4 11th graders in Alameda having used a candy-flavored tobacco product. The main problem here is that my peers are able to purchase these products at local drugstores. I urge you to end the sale of candy-flavored tobacco products in order to take a step to prevent youth from a lifelong tobacco addiction. Thank you.
Thank you. Darla?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I am here tonight to encourage City Council members to end the sale of candy-flavored tobacco in Alameda. So I'm a senior at Ensenada High School, and I have seen the effects of this firsthand. I've seen people doing things in the classroom because it's so small so they can fit it in their own pockets. And through the year, many of my close friends have become really addicted to these flavored tobacco products. Just last week, I heard a conversation between some of my peers talking about buying a case for their Soarin' Drop, and it's a very small product that you can keep in your pocket, and it looked like a ladybug. It's the fact that you can buy these kind of things online, and the fact that you can go to stores just to purchase them. It's really appealing to the youth, and I think that we need to find a way to stop that in some kind of a way. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin Gorham?
So, I'm their teacher, and I'm a resident in Alameda, father of 2 children, and I'm here with over 50 kids here today to ask the City Council to take a bold move and end the sale of candy-flavored tobacco. As a teacher, I see these kids using these products routinely without any understanding of the harm they are doing to their bodies, especially their lungs. The other problem is how accessible these products are to our kids and how affordable they are. Horrible to think tobacco companies are targeting our youth, and once they get them, they have a consistent customer for the next 4 to 5 decades. So please, City Council, let's take a critical first step and end the sale of candy-flavored tobacco to help prevent a lifetime of addiction and health-related issues. By banning these products, City Council, you will send a loud and positive message to the residents of Alameda that you're here to serve and protect, especially our youth. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to have another 10 speakers. I'm going to call your names. If you could line up Rashid Shabazz, Maz Khan, Sydney Williams, Nick Brodnicki, Jill DiGiacomo, DiGiacomo, Antone Newman, Craig A. Wingate, Linda Asbury, Rachel Gratz-Lazarus. Yeah, yes, you are, Mr. Shabazz.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening. Quickly, last December, I shared a poem with you all, you may recall. And one of the refrains I want to refresh your memory was, they used to make us picket, now our people are addicted. So I just wanted to share a couple of responses since this presentation was mainly framed around the retailers, just to some of the things I've heard. First, at that last meeting, somebody evoked the death of Eric Gardner, who was murdered by NYPD, and his last words, he said it many times, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. And I think that's very interesting when we're talking about tobacco, not being able to breathe. There were a lot of arguments about retailers and their ability to profit, and again, my people used to picket, now we're addicted. And so I just find the argument about profits when this is a public health issue to just be really offensive, and I'm going to get off the mic before Rashid really start talking. Thank you.
Maz Khan.
Good evening, council members and mayor. Just in order to not sound repetitive, I just wanted to say I'm here to encourage you guys to vote in favor of this ordinance to promote the health of youth like myself. And like just similarly how other people noted, it is really easy to conceal these and carry these around. I've actually personally seen students using these in class. Like, I mean, the teacher just doesn't even know. And like they said, they're usually the new ones that have been coming out, the jewels mainly, they can be disguised as USBs, and like they're really tiny, just like this big. And usually they don't have like a very foul odor like cigars or other kind of products. So yeah, this is and like it's similar to, I was here last time to argue in favor of expanding the zoning for the cannabis dispensaries to protect our mosques. So similarly, I want to protect, you know, the health and the well-being of all children and youth in Alameda. Thank you.
Thank you. Sydney Williams.
Hello, my name is Sydney Williams, and I am a senior at Encinal High School. I'm here to encourage the ban of tobacco products in Alameda. Candy-flavored tobacco products are masking the flavor of tobacco and are hooking children to these products. The fact that 1 in 4 11th graders in Alameda have vaped and used candy-flavored tobacco products is extremely alarming, but sadly not hard to believe, considering that I have seen many teenagers and my peers vaping and using these products. The irony behind the tobacco industry is that their products should only be marketed to people who are over 21, but instead they choose to target adolescents like myself. They want to hook children to their products and make lifelong customers out of us, and it all starts with kids vaping and using these candy-flavored products. Alameda needs to take a stand and ban the sales of these candy-flavored tobacco products and save the lives of children.
Thank you. Nick? Nick Brodnicki.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for staying awake and hearing all of these really engaged youth tonight. I think this is pretty amazing. If you ask me, I don't go to many city council meetings, but I could just spend time on how inspiring everybody is over here, because clearly I'm not in middle school or high school anymore. But I do feel strongly enough about this to walk around my neighborhoods in Alameda for the last couple of weekends hanging those door hangers, the informational hangers. You know, think about the long game here. It's about nicotine. It's about getting folks hooked. I think about my dad, who has been smoking his whole life. He can't kick it. He's got COPD. My grandma has lung cancer from smoking. If they started with the flavored stuff, who knows what that turns into? We know what it is for folks your age, your parents. The information we have nowadays, all the knowledge we have about how detrimental all of this is. I mean, I look at these kids and I'm like, I don't want them to go to the hospital because they can't breathe like my dad does. That's awful. Please vote in favor of a ban.
Thank you. Jill?
I'm Jill DiGiacomo, and my husband and I have lived in Alameda for 13 years. We have 2 boys, 10 and 6, and as a mom, I'm very concerned about the proliferation of flavored tobacco products and their appeal to middle schoolers and high schoolers. The intent seems to be pretty clear that the flavors are intended to make nicotine products more palatable to young people, and I don't think it's a hardship for adults to stick with the traditional unflavored tobacco products. And I think we need to act quickly to remove these products from our community as a preventative measure. So I hope we will vote in favor of prohibiting their sale here in Alameda. Thank you.
Thank you. Antone Newman, and then Craig Wingate.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I just would like to state 2 things. Firstly, I believe this is a very honest way of approaching the problem. Unfortunately, reality is that these kids that are mentioned over here are not buying tobacco at the retailer shops in Alameda. They're buying or in the internet, or they're acquiring them from family members. Because if you forbid it, what's going to happen with the father that smokes is he's going to Vallejo to buy the menthol cigarettes, bring cartons to home, which will be easily assessed by the kids. For the teachers, it's their responsibility to teach better the kids not to smoke. I'm a non-smoker, and the only reason why we sell cigarettes are for those that cannot be taken anymore from the addiction. Thank you.
Thank you. Craig Wingate.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Craig Wingate. I'm an Alameda resident and tobacco control advocate. A couple of points. Flavored tobacco products are being marketed to youth. Did you buy something called cotton candy or unicorn poop? Flavored tobacco products like Juul are being marketed as quitting devices, but the research to support this is insignificant. Also, the amount of nicotine liquid in Juul pods are equivalent to 2 packs of cigarettes. We live in one of the healthiest cities or healthiest states in the country, so tobacco retailers should know that a decrease in demand of their product is imminent. It comes down to access also in terms of these products being in stores. If the product is there, kids, youth will have access to it. And finally, thank you, Congressman, for pointing out the dangers of menthol cigarettes and how African Americans, youth, LGBT, and women are disproportionately marketed for menthol cigarettes. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda Asbury.
Linda Asbury, I'm representing the West Alameda Business Association and our merchants. What we would like you to do is separate the menthol cigarettes from the e-cigarettes and the vaping, and I can't be articulate on that because it's not in my environment. But when I talk to the retailers on Webster, it's the collateral sales. That people will come in for their menthol, and I'm not getting into any of that, and they buy bread, they buy milk, they do that. It's $50 sitting there if that menthol cigarette isn't there that they want, and these are not young people. It's not teenagers going in for these menthol cigarettes. It's people more my age that are smoking it. It's a lot of the collateral sales is really going to be bad for their business, and so all we want you to do is separate that menthol piece. And then I applaud all these young people that totally agree that get rid of the vaping, get rid of all of that. Let's not make it easy. Thank you.
Rachel Gratz Lazarus.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Gratz Lazarus, and I'm speaking tonight as an Alameda resident and a parent. Menthol is a social justice issue. We know that tobacco companies have historically targeted youth and communities of color and LGBTQ communities with highly concentrated, specialized menthol cigarette marketing campaigns. It's no accident that 95% of black youth smokers, 61% of Asian youth smokers, and 58% of Hispanic youth smokers smoke menthol. Please consider who are we leaving behind if we remove menthol from this law. A new Truth Initiative study published last month finds that teens are 16 times more likely to use Juul than older age groups. While store owners may be doing their best to prohibit tobacco sales to minors, the reality is that tobacco products are making their way into the hands of young people, and there's clearly a need for stronger local enforcement to hold retailers accountable for complying with tobacco sales. We can find products to sell to our community members that don't kill when used as directed. Retailers can and will replace lost profits from the sale of deadly flavored tobacco products with profits from healthier products. Addictive products is not a viable long-term business strategy. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next group of speakers, Brian Davis, Stephen Wooding, Amanda Gutzwiller, Shay Overstreet, Paul Sekhan, Bob Seklon, Rosalind Moya, Karen Butter. All right. Thank you so much for your cooperation, everyone. Brian Davis.
My name is Brian Davis, and I'm a member of the Alameda County Tobacco Control Coalition. A 2015 survey of over 40,000 middle and high school students nationwide showed that 4.5% of them smoked cigarillos, or little cigars. Your current proposal includes a minimum pack size of 5 for cigarillos, like Hayward and Union City have. But packs of 5 and 6 cigarillos, like these, are sold in those cities for $1 or less. San Leandro has adopted a minimum price of $7 for packs of 5 cigarillos. You are proposing a minimum price of $7 for packs of cigarettes. Extending that minimum price requirement to cigarillos would eliminate these nearly free products from Alameda stores. Pack size increases alone have not been shown to be effective. Contra Costa County recently increased their pack size to 10 for all types of cigars. $2 to $3 10 packs are common there, and have been seen for as little as $1.49. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephen Wooding.
Yes, hello, Mayor and City Council members. I'm Stephen Wooding from the Alameda County Tobacco Control Coalition. So we know from research that the youth smoking rate goes down when prices go up. And as such, I'm glad that the proposed ordinance establishes a minimum price of $7 for cigarettes and $5 for cigars. Now, as Brian before me said, there is no minimum price currently proposed for cigarillos. Instead, there's only a minimum pack size of 5 established for those products. Now, we know that simply cramming more cigarillos into each unit of sale does not produce the rise in prices that deter youth. So Hayward and Union City tried that, and now where they used to be 2 or 3 for $1, there are packs of 5 or 6 for the same price, like this one. So to further drive home that size does not matter, Contra Costa County implemented a minimum size of 10 per package, and we have seen such packs on sale for $2. They take 2 5-packs and stick them together, woo, $2. So if our goal is to protect youth, then we shouldn't be giving them more bang for the buck. Moving forward with this ordinance, remember, it's not size that counts, it's how you price it. Thank you.
Amanda Gutzwiller.
Hi, good evening. I'm with the American Lung Association. I'm here today to encourage you all to pass a strong tobacco retailer license ordinance, including a ban on flavored tobacco products. 4 out of 5 kids who use tobacco started with a flavored product. In 2009, the FDA banned flavored cigarettes. However, this didn't include flavored cigars, cigarillos, e-cigarettes, nor menthol. E-cigarettes contain nicotine that's addictive and harmful to adolescent brain development, and it does have health risks. The FDA has not found any e-cigarette to be safe and effective in helping smokers quit. And unfortunately, youth who use e-cigarettes are more likely to transition to combustible tobacco products. In a recent CDC study found that the primary reason youth use e-cigarettes is the flavors. Menthol is also linked to initiation, so we strongly encourage you to include menthol in your flavor ban. Thank you so much.
Shay Overstreet.
Good evening. My name is Shay Overstreet. I'm a resident in Alameda, and I actually volunteered a couple weeks ago to hang those door hangers, which have the pictures of the flavored tobacco on them. And one Alamedan actually looked at that and said, "Oh no, I'm all set for Halloween. Thank you, though." So that just shows how convincing and deceivingly appealing these products are to all people, including the people that are most likely to be targeted with those are children. I actually have a brother in college, and from the people he knows, he says that probably 9 out of 10 of those people use these flavored products or jewels. If these young adults are being targeted and by these products and using them, just imagine how much our younger individuals that are more impressionable and less informed about the effects of nicotine are going to be using these products. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul, Zekhan, and then Bob.
So we still are talking about a legalized product in America. Number one, the reason why the city attorney in those cities didn't ban menthol was because the city attorney discovered that in San Leandro that they'd be open to lawsuits. It's on record. Also a couple other cities. Number two, the FDA and other cities give a warning because there's a penalty to store owners because we have to pay 7-Eleven or who not the loss of sales. So we're not getting fined $1,500. Let's say we lose sales, I have to end up paying about $7,000 to $10,000 to $20,000 for a pack of cigarettes and a mistake that a clerk that was working at night that I wasn't there. I agree with these kids. We shouldn't sell like this candy flavored stuff. But none of them mentioned menthols on their flyers. They don't show any tobacco, so tobacco should be exempt. No menthol was on there, so they really don't even feel like that's important. Otherwise, they'd put it on their flyer. Also, you put the word sweet in packaging. I think that would also open you up for a lawsuit because the company's name is Swisher Sweets. You might want to reform that on the F. Nobody said anything about anything on online sales. You did mention a black market, so when your kid gets sick from a tobacco in Mexico, we'll see what you guys do then.
Thank you, Bob. And then Rosalind Moya.
Yeah, my name is Bob Sekhan, and I have a business in Alameda since '94. One person said that so many cities adopted this. 24% of California adopted this kind of articles. 76% of California is not touching it. Look at city of San Jose, Alameda County. They don't want to do it. If they bring it in, then say, no, we have a lot of other things to do. And if you want to do it, it's okay. Let's do it like Hayward, Fremont, Union City. We are ready to do that. And the penalties, they're so harsh. The first thing is $1,500. All those cities, they have first thing is just caution, hey, don't do it again. The second is like fine. The third is 15-day suspension or something like that. Please leave us in business. Just be mercy on us. Thank you.
Thank you. Rosalind?
Hi again, my name is Rosalind Moya. I'm a member of the Alameda County Tobacco Control Coalition, and I'm an 8-year resident of Alameda. I have here, I wanted to submit this. These are many organizations and residents send letters to the council expressing their support of a strong tobacco retail license policy to prohibit the sale of candy-flavored tobacco and menthol in the city, as well as to establish other critical tobacco retailing restrictions to protect youth from tobacco addiction, including creating a minimum price and package size for tobacco products, prohibiting tobacco sales near youth-sensitive areas, and establishing tobacco-free pharmacies. I would like to submit those letters of support from several residents as well as the following organizations. This also includes a resolution from the Alameda Unified School District Board of Education in support of the ordinance, as well as the Alameda Unified School District's PTA. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen?
Mayor and members of the City Council, my name is Karen Butter. I'm a 25-year resident of Alameda, and for part of my career, I worked on tobacco control issues, establishing a 90 million-page digital archive of tobacco industry documents and collaborating with faculty on tobacco control research. In 2017 in California, 17.3% of high school students used e-cigarettes. FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb declared that youth use of e-cigarettes reached nothing short of an epidemic proportion of growth and cited new unpublished FDA data that anticipated a 77% increase in e-cigarette use among high school students in 2017. And as we've heard, youth favor the flavored tobacco products, and they think that they are less harmful. And in fact, the content of e-cigarettes is totally unregulated. These flavored products are often found on countertops next to candy displays where they are visible and easily accessible to youth, while the...
Thank you. All right, next speakers. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't know this first name. Wilkerson is the last name. Looks like Kweri, Wilkerson. Matt Hussain, Hussain. Paige Thompson. Teresa. Brian Lee. Serena Chen. Raed Abdallah. Frank George. And that's the last speaker slip I have at this time. If you want to speak on this item, please submit your slip. And the first speaker, Wilkerson.
Good evening, lovely council. Kwesi Wilkerson from the African American Tobacco Control Leadership Council. I want to be mindful and remind you all that this is as much a social justice issue and an adult issue and a community health issue as it is a youth issue. This is also passed in Richmond, California, right up the street. This is passed in Beverly Hills, California. This is passed in Marin just yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. This is passed in San Pablo. So this is a growing movement. If you paid any attention to the election results, there's a great change sweeping across this nation towards progressiveness, towards health, and so many aspects. And I encourage you all to make the right decision here tonight. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Matt?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Matt Hussain. I'm here to partially oppose the ordinance. I'm not in favor of selling the flavors and candy flavors to the minors. We already take precautions to not to sell the product to the youth, and but I believe that menthol should be exception of the tobacco sale, because menthol has nothing to do with the youth sales. And also, I would oppose the window, 3-year window. That would not work for us. You know, we should be able to resell our business even beyond the 3 years window. Thirdly, that I oppose the penalty. The penalty is too stiff. I think it should be only $500 for the first violation. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Paige?
Good evening. My name is Paige Tomlin, and I'm president of the Alameda PTA Council. So we represent about 4,000 parents, students, and teachers across the island. And at our last meeting of PTA presidents, we passed a resolution supporting this ordinance. I think particularly concerning for the parents was that about 40% of 11th graders that were surveyed recently said that they could easily get tobacco products. And then as you've been hearing, 1 in 4 are actively vaping or using some kind of e-cigarette, which is a real concern. Also, I'm here tonight on behalf of First 5 Alameda County, and we also sent you a letter recently supporting this ordinance. It's very concerning to have these kind of products around young children, and it's just really, really not a good idea to smoke around children in general, especially babies. So thank you, and I urge you to, and I should also say I'm a parent of an 11-year-old and a 14-year-old, and I really do appreciate you taking this on, and hope that you pass this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Teresa?
Hello, my name is Teresa. I'm from Easy Liquors, which is a family-owned and run business here in Alameda since 1994. And I understand that this ordinance has to accomplish something. And I agree that they have got carried away with these flavors. But menthol is not the problem in Alameda. I am hearing the concern is vaping and the flavors that appeal to kids. I ask that you please consider making menthol an exemption. Kids are not buying from our stores. They can easily obtain tobacco online for a quarter of the price. This ordinance opens up a black market, therefore giving kids more access versus keeping them contained for sale in our stores where they cannot buy them. There has already been an increase in the age to purchase from 18 to 21, and also an increase in the price. The cheapest pack of cigarettes is now $8.20. After all that, at the very least, I ask that if this goes into effect, that you please exempt menthol and consider changing the start date to July 2020 versus July 2019. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian Lee?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. My name is Brian Lee. My family owns a liquor store here in Alameda. I just want to say personally that if you were to ban all flavored menthol cigarettes, it would be detrimental to us especially to other liquor store owners or business owners, as they are rooted in, they are immigrants. So they have a lot invested into their business. And then also I would like to amend the students that have come today to voice their opinions. However, I did see that there is a clear separation between the flavored tobacco, which like the nicotine, liquid nicotine, such as vaping, and menthol. I ask that you separate those two and just leave menthol be and just ban flavored tobacco such as flavored nicotine and other electronic cigarettes. Thank you.
Serena Chan?
Good evening. As the young people mentioned tonight, these are jewels, and these are jewel pods, and there's a jewel in my hand, and I could have been vaping this whole time and just blowing the vapor into my scarf. These jewels carry the dosage of a pack of cigarettes. That's 20 cigarettes. So after finishing off five of these pods, a kid is addicted. Because we used to have this rule of thumb, anyone who smoked 100 cigarettes is addicted, and that's 100 cigarettes. So basically, the kids came back to school after summer being pack-a-day or 2-pack-a-day smokers. And I've heard from administrators and teachers from all over, not just Alameda, but at other schools, because I work in the other schools. And they're really worried because the kids are truly addicted, and for the first time, the kids are asking for help in cessation, which is another new thing. Every year, 70% of smokers.
Thank you.
Okay.
Raed, R-A-E-D.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council. I'm a retailer here in the city of Alameda, and I want to commend the kids that came in and spoke out against or for the ban. I partially am for the ban with regards to certain issues, and I oppose other parts. What was failed to mention is that the city of Alameda has a 98% compliance rate, meaning that there's been no retailers in over 5 years that have violated the law or sold to a minor in the city of Alameda. Most of these children that are purchasing online. And you can Google on your phone right now, type in purchase tobacco, and it'll be very easily accessible to you. That's number one. Number two is my own father, who is a former smoker, 60 plus years, quit smoking because of the vaporizer. So it is a tool that can be used properly. I've seen youth with them, and they're not getting it from us. They're not getting it from the retailers. They're purchasing them online. That's what needs to be looked at. They're not cheap either. You're talking about a minimum $80 purchase to purchase these products.
Frank George. And then he's our last speaker unless you want to turn in a slip now.
My name is Frank George. I've been a tobacconist in this town for 25 years. I'm a native, and I agree 100% with the children and the parents out here. The tobacco company has made it really very simple. It's disgusting, but the problem is the internet. I'm telling you, we're 98% in compliance. You should be proud of your retailers. That's one of the highest. A lot of other areas that have changed their mind and complied to this rule have reversed it. In Chicago, they said it just didn't work. But I made a couple bullet points. They're not buying from us, and I have no problem to comply as well. But since July 14th, or whatever, the prices have gone up $1 to $10 a cigar. Our tobacco license, instead of a one-time fee of $100, is $250. There's no problem complying with what's being asked. The situation is the internet.
Thank you very much. All right, he's our last speaker. Council members. Member Ashcraft.
I have reservations about the that 3-year, 300-foot ban, or if you sell a business within the buffer zone, within 3 years of the ordinance, they can keep going. And we spend so much time on the cannabis ordinance talking about sensitive uses and the different zones and 2 tiers and all that. So I just don't understand the rationale of either we don't want these uses near sensitive, youth activities, or we do. So that's a concern. And I am, from what I'm hearing of the information about menthol cigarettes, I think they should be included as well. And I don't know that we're necessarily considering some of the staff recommendations, but I certainly don't agree with allowing drugstores pharmacies to keep selling. I think, it was very commendable that, I think it was CVS a couple years ago just said, look, we're about health, and so we're not going to sell a product that is detrimental to health. And I certainly want to be sensitive to small businesses and retailers, but on balance, I just find that the public's health and the cost to the public of the health implications of tobacco products is something to be considered too. And I am concerned. I do see young people vaping and going down the street, and I'm sure I don't see some of the ones using products that are more easily hidden. And I just think that we don't need to do things that make it even easier for them to have access to these products.
Vice Mayor?
I don't think it's just about our youth. I think it's also about people that have been targeted and targeted from an early age who are now adults. And I think that there's very specific groups that have been targeted. They're typically people of color. They're typically women of color. It's actually categories that I fit perfectly into, and it's worrisome to me that we would kind of make exceptions around business needs and not make kind of health-based decisions, since that was the impetus for this. I do think that regarding the little cigars, if they're being sold in a package of 5, I think the $5 that we're applying to the cigars should also apply to those packages. I think that's a simple fix that we can do, and I know it's not the 7 that people are asking for, but if we're saying the cigars should be 5, then the little cigars should also be that amount. I understand what we're trying to do with the buffer zones. I have similar reservations about the 3 years to sell. I think, first of all, that's a long time. And second of all, it defeats the purpose of what we're trying to do, which is reduce the number of stores that are selling near our schools. I don't want our kids kind of running out of class to go buy these sorts of products. With regards to the banning of menthol, frankly, I was disappointed that San Leandro only banned the flavored tobacco and did not follow through with the menthol ban. I get that the internet is a big competitor, and frankly, I hope that the state of California and other states step up and start banning sale of tobacco products online. We regulate things like gun sales and any sort of sales coming into the state, and I think that the more cities and local jurisdictions that take up this issue, the more likely it is that the state of California is actually going to try to regulate those sorts of sales. And I think that we need to do it. It's long overdue. These are not products that help people. These are products that hurt people. And from a public health standpoint, I think that this is the right thing to do.
Thank you. Member Odie.
I could just ask my colleague through the chair on the 300 feet, because I'm not the 300 feet, the 3-year thing. I mean, what's the suggestion? Just take that out?
Well, yeah, if the existing retailer then goes to sell, then I don't think that the license runs with the land, and it wouldn't, because either if it was running with the land, it would continually. Right. So I just didn't then the rationale when I asked Mr. Rausch about it was that the retailers felt that it would increase their chances of getting a better price when they sold their business. That's a consideration, but to me, it doesn't override my consideration about not having those uses so close to a school or other sensitive use.
All right, so I would agree with that idea then, that we just take that kind of loophole out of there. I look back at when San Francisco did this and they did the menthol ban, and then it got referended, and R.J. Reynolds spent, looking at this, $12 million on a ballot initiative. So I have to ask myself, why are they spending $12 million? Because menthol equals profits. That's simple. That's all it is. And that was kind of the justification we heard today, that it's okay to ban the stuff that kids are attracted to, but the things that we're making a lot of money off by targeting people or communities of color and by targeting LGBT folks, we still want to be able to do that. So to me, it comes down to values. And if I'm going to have to pick a value, my value is going to be standing with the social justice activists that want to stop these tools of death from being perpetuated in communities of color, because that's what they're doing. And I think, Dr. Gardner, you were very eloquent, as you always have been, on this issue and your life's work fighting it. And I think that's what I'm going to stand with. I'm going to stand with health over profits. And it just comes down to that value. And I think I could sit here and talk for my last 6.5 minutes, but I'm not going to, because there's one speaker, a young woman named Malia, and and the reason I support this with the adjustments proposed by my colleague and also the adjustment proposed on the cigarello price is so Malia and her friends can grow up tobacco-free. So that's really all it is for me. So Malia and her friends grew up tobacco-free, and our communities of color and our LGBT communities are not targeted with these menthol cigarettes, because I'm going to choose health over profits.
Member Mataresi?
I'd like to make a motion, and what I've been hearing is that I'd like to move adoption of the first reading of this ordinance with removing the 3-year window exemption for the 3-year window to sell a business with the license carrying with it, to include cigarillos into the pricing that's comparable to cigars, and to remove the option to have an in lieu fine versus suspension, just to make sure that on the second and third offense, people are not cost of businessing violations out. The FDA has spent significant time in trying to manage this business, and you can just look at the warning letters that are issued. Most of them are from tobacco-related uses that are in violation of FDA law. So what we're doing, and I think the point that the cost of this business immediate is far outweighed by the cost of the long-term use of these products that will kill you if you use them as directed.
I'll second that.
Okay, I'd like to speak on the issue. I
Sure, we
appreciate
can
there's
discuss.
a motion and a second. So we had a speaker stand up here and say that students are using these products without any understanding of harm of what they do to their bodies. That is a very disturbing statement to me. When my students were in school, they were being taught not to use cigarettes by their teachers and by their parents. And I'm pretty sure we as a country, started putting the warning on cigarettes back in the 60s. If there's any student here that does not understand that cigarettes causes harm to your bodies, the problem is not that you're being tempted by them or that they're being sold to you somehow. You need to not smoke. You can buy cigarettes online. You can have friends come up to you and try to offer them to you anywhere. And to me, having all of these students come here, I appreciate your concern. You should not be smoking. You shouldn't be vaping. You shouldn't be using the Juuls, regardless of the flavor. You shouldn't be doing it. And if you or your friends are smoking, this was another comment, the students are smoking in the bathroom. I expect the schools to make sure that students are not smoking in the bathroom and in classes. And if you have fellow students, if you or yourself are smoking in a bathroom at a school, that's a problem. If you have fellow students that are smoking in classroom or in the bathroom, I think it needs to be reported somehow, and I encourage the teachers and the faculty to try to figure out what you're going to do with that problem. The reality is that we are living in a world with products being sold online, and those products are not tested at all. They're not lab tested. We had a serious conversation earlier about lab testing, and I am concerned that by us just deciding we're not going to have products sold here in our city, that somehow we're suggesting that it's not going to be around, and so people don't, including students and teachers, don't need to be teaching and honoring that smoking is not healthy for you, period, wherever you get the product. It is not healthy for you, period. You do need to accept responsibility for smoking if you choose to smoke, and students need to understand this. So this statement that without any understanding of harm of what it does to your bodies, I'm happy. We can offer classes to try to teach that lesson. That is something that should be taught early on. No one should be here in this room thinking that it is a safe product. I do have concerns about so we have as a state, we have been very responsible, I think, stepping up the age to 21. Our stores have a 90% compliance. So if anyone's thinking if we decided to ban the product at our stores, stop the sales, that somehow that's going to cause students to stop smoking in the bathroom or in the classroom or using, that's a disconnect. That's a disconnect. If our stores were at a 90% compliance, that means when they go get tested, right, they don't have any violations. So the product, based upon that data, and we try to make decisions based on data, is not coming from our stores. It's coming from somewhere else. And there appears to be a new I can tell you when I was in school, we all knew it was dangerous. Students might have been doing it, but we absolutely knew it was causing damage. And I personally do not smoke cigarettes, never have, because I was taught that it was dangerous, that it was not healthy. Now, my mother did smoke menthol cigarettes, and I do have friends that smoke menthol cigarettes to this day. And I have to ask, so if they want to smoke cigarettes, 50 years old, should they have to buy it online? Should they have to drive somewhere else? How old do they have to be before they can make up their own mind if they want to smoke a cigarette? We sell other products that are not necessarily safe. Alcohol, for instance. Are we going to have students come down here and say, we don't want anyone drinking, using alcohol, smoking alcohol, consuming alcohol? Because I'm going to say the same thing. It's dangerous. You shouldn't be doing it. We're not selling it to you. You have to be 21 and over to do it legally. So I want to make sure everyone understands it is not legal for us. We have the age 21 and over to purchase cigarettes. We have the same thing for alcohol. Students should not be doing this. They should all understand it's not safe. And I am concerned that it is the sales online that don't go through our stores, that then what are we introducing? Because that's not tested at all. And so where's the balance? And trying to figure out, I mean, honestly, that's what we're asked to do, to find the balance. And the date we did recently as a state, it was just a couple of years ago that we increased the age to 21. And we've increased the fees, and we've increased the penalties. But to have anyone suggest that anyone using a cigarette doesn't understand what harm they're doing to their bodies, that's a serious problem to me. And I hope that all of you do understand that they're extremely addictive. I mean, what I taught my children, and I think what the lesson that we were all taught when we were younger, is not to even have one, period. Don't consume even one. Don't have anything to do with it because it's highly addictive. And I think it's very important that everyone understand that and at some point accept personal responsibility, because you will be offered many things that are not appropriate. And it's very important that you learn to say no and to not use them, whether it's offered from a friend in a classroom, in a bathroom, which is apparently what's happening in our schools, which is very, very disconcerting. And I'm shocked to hear that. And I've spent a lot of time in classrooms and in our schools, and I did not know that that was happening, and it should not be allowed. And if students are concealing, I mean, there was a demonstration by a member here concealing a cigarette in a scarf. If that's what's happening, then that needs to be addressed. It just needs to be addressed. We can't allow it. We can't allow it. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I mean, there's lots of things that are sold on the internet. You can probably buy anything you want. Just because it's offered to you, doesn't mean you use it. And it is something we taught for many, many years in school, so it should still be being taught in our schools, and no one should ever think that it is safe. At the same time, though, I think if you're over 21 and it's a legal product, you should be able to go down to your local store, and I don't have a problem with you purchasing it if you're 21 or over. And I expect if you're 21, you should be able to make decisions for self. And I don't see it as my role to say, if you're 21, I'm not going to allow you to buy it in our city. But you can order it online, something that's not been tested at all and could very well be less safe. I do agree that it's important to, and we had merchants agree with us, I think everyone agreed, to ban the flavors. I don't have a problem banning the flavors. I do have a problem with the menthol. I think when I was a kid, Camel cigarettes were targeted to kids. We had to say no. We had to not use it. We had to not smoke it. And I think it's very important that we continue to teach youth to not use product that is not safe. So, and I agree. I understand that there's a motion and a second. I won't be able to support it because, honestly, I think it doesn't bring in the balance of what good policy is. And I think it actually sends a message that if we ban a sale somehow in town, that we've addressed the problem. And I'm going to say no. The problem is not addressed if we have teachers, faculty, students saying that they are not being taught or have, this was the quote, they don't have any understanding of harm of what they're doing to their bodies. That is the
Call the
problem to me.
question.
All right, so there's a motion. You want,
There's been a
I'm
motion
happy to
and a
call the
second.
question.
Thank
Okay,
you.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I oppose. Motion carries 4-1. Next item. Actually, that's 7. We're almost done. We're almost done.
Get to bed, kids.
Do you want to take a quick recess?
We could take a quick recess. We're going to take a quick recess. Or no, we're not. We're going to keep going. Okay, I'm sorry. We're going to